Very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us on the Thursday edition of the show. I'm Yemi Adebayo. Well, tonight on the show, we will be looking at the Women's African Cup of Nations. It will get our thoughts and attention. We will also be looking at the FIBA Under-19 Women's Basketball tournament currently going on in the Czech Republic. We will also do our best to talk about sports at the grassroots level. And of course, we have something lined up for you that I don't want to let the cat out of the bag just yet. We have a special guest who will be shedding the light on so many things for us around that area. But first, let me quickly introduce our guest in the Lagos studio. Damilola Onifade joins us this lovely Thursday evening. Damilola, greetings to you. Thanks for finding time to be with us on the show tonight.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's a time to look forward to what the Super Falcons has to offer. Not the best performance so far, but hopefully we can get through tomorrow's game and get into the last four.
All right, that's the operative word, hopefully. All right, let's go to the Abuja studio where we have waiting to join in the Director General of the National Institute of Sports, Philip Shaibu. Of course, you already know, former Deputy Governor of Edo State. He joins us on the show tonight. Greetings to you, sir. Thanks for finding time to be with us on the show. Okay, all right. We'll get our docs in a row. But Damilola, since you started talking about the Super Falcons, I'll just ask you a question, just off the cuff, and it's something that you're not probably prepared for. After 3 matches, do they look like a championship winning side? Look like?
Look like, no.
Straight away?
No. Do they have the capacity? Yes.
Yes, but do they look
like? So far, no. I had to say the second part, so I'll be clear.
It will be clear.
The capacity is there. We know that we've got the talent. The ability is there. You don't have players playing at the level that our players are playing, doing so well for their clubs, and you question their ability to play at this level, particularly within the African continent. I don't think that's our problem. Our problem is more structural. Our problem is more what we do before we go to this 1 month tournament. Others have like 2-3 years to prepare. We want to prepare under 3 weeks for a 1 month tournament.
And get it right.
And we want to get it right. And we also we're also not data driven. If we're data driven, we realize that when we used to dominate Africa, there was a flow. We had a system. We had a funnel that bring players that produce. And most of the players play for a long time within the domestic system. So they are used to a particular way of playing. And we're using domestic coaches that were also used to these players. At some point, even when they started moving, they were moving to the United States to study and play football. So it was still the same culture. Today, look at the present Super Falcons. You probably have them from 10 countries coming together into that team. So different culture, different orientation. And you want a coach to perform magic within 2 weeks with that. I mean, it's difficult.
All right. Damilola says it is difficult. All right. My colleague, Austin Okonakman, is ready now. Austin, greetings to you. Of course, it's the day before the big day.
That's right. It's part of greetings to you. And, of course, everyone joining us on the show tonight. Always an action-packed sort of sports. Big game between Nigeria's Super Falcons and Zambia's Copper Queens. And I like the fact that we're getting this sort of conversations just at the quarterfinal stage at the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. It's a clear testament that African football is developing and that we need more countries need to join the conversation, you know. I remember 2014, Nigeria trashed Zambia 6-0, 2018 or 19, I guess, 4-0. 2018, 4-0. But 2022, Zambia turned it around, you know. I'll never forget that Katongo shot. You know, the woodwork saved it, but it hit the body of Chiamaka Nadozie, and then it got in. And that was good enough for Zambia to go on to win that one. I also remember that goalkeeper Hazel Nali was fantastic for the Copper Queens on that day. But now they don't have Hazel Nali. And they feel that the current goalkeeper they have isn't good enough. But then again, there was no Rachel and Barbara Banda in 2022, and the Super Falcons didn't beat them. So it's going to be an interesting game of football. We're looking forward to it, to see, where that one will go. And definitely to get us talking about women's football development. Yemi, we're hoping to get the Director General of the National Institute for Sports, Philip Shaibu, former Deputy Governor of the Edo State. If he's ready, we'll go to Abuja studio and then we'll have that conversation that is tied around not just the institute, being responsible for sports academia in Nigeria, but infrastructure development comes into the conversation once again. And if we look at the picture from outside, looks good. Everything looks okay with this administrative block. But we know we have shown you what it looks like inside, which is a big, should I say, a disgrace to our sporting infrastructure. And I always say, for a country's football to be admirable, it needs to look good. This is when the former deputy governor, who is now the Director General of the National Institute of Sports, visited the building, and some of the pictures he saw himself, he was dazzled, and he decided to, put it out there that it's another challenge that he hopes he can, surmount and make it a better story for sports administration in Nigeria. If Philip Shaibu is ready, let's go to our Abuja studios and welcome him to join the conversation. Good evening. Welcome to Sports Tonight.
Good evening. Good evening, Nigeria, and good evening, Okonepan. It's good to hear from you again and see you. I've been waving you on the television. You don't wave back.
I can talk to you. Sporting greetings. Good to have you join us on the show. Congratulations once again for, taking the challenging role to redefine, rebuild, and make attractive the National Institute of Sports. The first day you saw that building, the first day you got into office, what got to mind? Did you say, I don't want this job again?
Well, not at all. Not at all. First and foremost, I want to sympathize with the Buhari family and the nation for this period of mourning. And that is why we have to move our planned launch today to next week because of the mourning period. So it's a loss for all of us. And we pray that God will grant former president the Al-Jannah, as the Muslim will say it, that is heaven. And for the family, God will give them the fortitude to bear the irreplaceable loss. Well, coming back to your question, well, I was not as shocked as anybody would. I was not as shocked as anybody would think, but I was seriously disappointed to see that that institute has gone down the drain. And it was shocking to the extent I saw it was shocking anyway, but I know it was down, but I didn't expect that it got down to that level. So I didn't plan to run. For me, I saw it as a challenge, and I saw that some of the things that some of us have been clamoring to have, I cannot see why it was not there. So I saw it as a challenge. I saw it as God's divine call, and I thank Mr. President for that, because I was one of the victims of that place. And when I mean victim, I was one of those lamenting and criticizing that place for not working. So the first thing that came to my mind was, God has a purpose for the president to ask me to go and to go to this place and re-establish it in line with the renewed hope of Mr. President, and rebrand and restart it to meet global challenges. So for me, it was a challenge. Was a very difficult challenge, I can tell you.
I agree. Let's look at the state of coaching in Nigeria, because all the time we look at players' performance and we don't look at coaching. Now that you're Director General of the National Institute of Sports, can you say that it's because of the state, it's because of how the NIS is, that's why we're not doing so well with coaching?
Yes, because the truth is that the quality of your coach will determine the quality of your athlete. And quality of your facility and the impact that you make will also determine the level of the quality of the coaches itself. So the infrastructure and the learning environment and what to impact on these individuals as coaches will make them quality coaches or not. And another thing is that if you check, we've been recycling coaches. We have very few coaches that actually qualify. And those few coaches that are qualified in Nigeria, check their certificate. They cannot coach beyond Nigerian shores. Outside Nigeria, the certificate is not recognized. And this is a certificate, was one major certificate that you need to get before. Those days, if you have an NIS certificate, it's a big deal. So now it's no longer a big deal because they were cutting corners, the infrastructure were not there. 1974 curriculum is still what is existing. So a lot of old things were wrong with the institute. Beyond the infrastructural decay, the curriculum was also a major problem. And up to now, I'm still searching for some documents in NIS. I'm still searching for some documents. So if I'm still, for like 5 weeks now, I'm still searching for documents, that will tell you the level of decay in that establishment. For me, I have made up my mind that must be actualized. And that is, after all, going around all the facilities, both Abuja and in Lagos, and some document I can lay my hands on, and some people that have passed through that place, both coaches and administrator, including the last administrator, I have to reach him to also know his own perspective on why the facility is like this and what was his challenges, because whether you like it or not, he was there for 4 years. So I need to also study him to understand why this facility is like this and to also understand his challenges. That will help me to also build my own programs. So, and one thing I also noticed is that beyond the act establishing, decree now act establishing the NIS, there was no clear-cut strategic document that was in place to actually drive the process of having the institute to run. And so there are a whole lot of things that we need to do. I spent close to 4 weeks now in that institute, and for me, we have not started anything. And I have told the staff, we are not going to do any work. They have been awarded salary all this while, not earning salary. So we must bring the institution back to a level where whoever is working there must earn his salary. Because for me, there is virtually everything is down on ground zero. After 1974, the next president that could do something about that place was Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, that built the Athlete Development Center in Abuja. After 18 years, nothing has happened in that place. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the next president now that has decided that we need to reposition and restructure and reform that place to compete with global standard. And I'm lucky to be the person he has appointed to go there because I have my own, I am passionate about sports, you know. I am passionate about it. So it's like asking me to go and do what I love doing. And by the grace of God, with the support of the team I'm putting together, because it's not a one-man thing. We have to have a team that can actually, that is also passionate about sport, is passionate about the Nigerian Institute for Sport, because that is the engine room of sport. Coaching, athletes, is from there. We cannot have an institute that is bestowed with the responsibility of training elite athletes, and we are not winning medals in all African games. We are not winning medals in Commonwealth Games. We are not in the podium in the Olympics because NIS wasn't working. So beyond the coaches, the elite athletes too, that institute is bestowed with that responsibility. So for me, we have to start afresh. And I'm bringing a team together. And we were supposed to launch it today, but because of the morning, we'll move it to next week. That team is who is who, and those that also has history with that place, and those also that have passion for NIS to work. I've been able to get that team together. It will become an advisory committee that I will work with to bring NIS together. Because what I've seen there is not just a work for Philip Shaibu alone. It has to be collective, and I need that team that I put together to join me to do the work that I've been asked to do by Mr. President.
All right. My colleague Yemi is in Lagos, where the NIS is located. Yemi, I'm sure you're closer home to the NIS and you've seen it, and I'm sure you have things to say that will get the DG thinking again.
Yeah, just one question from me. We don't want to take too much of his time. And Sir, I listened to you when you came to Lagos, and one of the things you talked about were reforms. You talked about reforms and how to change a lot of things, and you've echoed some of those things in your speech again tonight. But how do you intend to tackle? And by the way, I like the advisory committee that you've put together. Like you said, who is who? But how would you be tackling the issue of funding, which is something everybody talks about? Will it be an issue for you? And the issue of infrastructure, how to get all of those things that will be needed in tip-top shape. Those two things, how do you intend to address and go around those issues?
Yeah, I can tell you that funding will not be a problem. Mr. President is a lover of youth and is rebuilding Nigeria for the future, and the future is the Nigerian youth. Sport is also the future because 80% of the active players in sport are youth. So I can tell you funding will not be a problem. But beyond federal government funding, sport is a business. And that is why this committee that I put together that we're supposed to launch today, that we are moved to next week, will be given that responsibility. I already have a draft. I have a 10 years working plan for the NIS. And this committee will look at that draft and we will come out with a whole lot of things. We are talking about infrastructure. We are talking about the curriculum. We're going to be talking about business. Let me tell you, by my own research in the course of doing this draft, if globally $600 billion dollars is the value of sporting activities, over 600 billion, you should know that sports is a real economy. So beyond that, beyond federal government funding, we are going to be engaging private sector. In fact, I'm looking more to have private sector to drive it, because my experience in Edo shows that if you leave sports to government alone, government funding alone, I can tell you it will end up the way NIS is today. So the initial funding is always from government to show that government is really interested in it. Then that will drive and bring the private sector in. So the document we are going to be bringing out, the first 2 years is going to be facility, curriculum, and rebranding. We are revitalizing and relaunching the NIS. So it's going to be a whole pack. I'm a believer. I'm somebody that I go for anything that I want to do, and I am going there to make sure that place work. And because I have passion and I have the will, I can tell you we are not going to be depending on government funding alone. We are going to be bringing a whole document, government initial funding, which I call the seed money, the initial funding, and the private sector will take its own place. It's going to be government funding starting and government funding dropping and private sector funding taking over. That is the only way we can sustain the NIS. NIS has to be run like business, because we are already partnering with the military. We're going to be partnering with the police. We are going to be partnering with a whole lot of different stakeholders to make it work, because he's the engine room. He trains the coaches. NIS train the athletes. NIS also train management staff for sports ecosystem. And beyond that, you won't believe that this NIS also have the responsibility of training paramedics. Until I got there, I never knew NIS too was saddled with the responsibility of training paramedics. But all these structures are down. And I can tell you, by the grace of God, we have a 10 years working program. I won't be there for 10 years, obviously, but we have to have a plan. And that plan also will go through legislation, which some of them will go through policy. So in the next 1 year, by the grace of God, you will see a rebranded, revitalized, relaunch NIS, and that will be competing globally, not only in Africa, but competing globally. We're going to be partnering with CAF to deal with the issue of certificate of our coaches. We're going to be dealing with FIBA, the long tennis associations and federation. We are going to be dealing with them. They are going to be the next phase after they launch next week. The next phase will be with the federations. The after phase by December will be with the international bodies, which will have to partner with. We are supposed to be modeled after Australian and German institutes of sport. But I can tell you they have gone very far. NIS is still in the 1974 era, and that is that's not too good. But in all, I am taking one step at a time, because the journey to rebuild NIS does not need a sprint in a muddy environment. It needs one step at a time, and that's why I'm taking my time. And I'm the last 4 weeks I've been able to get a document, a 10 years working document. Next week, when we now launch the advisory team, they will be given that responsibility to now look at this document, this draft that I have brought. We'll look at the document, we'll now have a comprehensive plan, which, by the grace of God, through their advisory, we might be launching this year, and work starts in earnest. But I can tell you, funding will not be a problem. I don't see funding as a problem at all. I'm sure, by the grace of God, with the commitment of the president, with the Renew Hope agenda, we are bringing in a relief, fresh air into the NIS. And I can tell you, it will be like the Ezekiel 37. Dry bones shall rise again. We are breathing air into it, and we are prophesying that NIS will take its place as far as is the engine room of sport development in Nigeria.
All right, that's a good place to let it land. I want to thank you for your time on the show tonight. You have touched up on a whole lot of issues, and hopefully when next we have this opportunity, we'll be talking about the giant strides for the National Institute of Sports. All right, so hopefully we'll do this again some other time.
Thank you very much.
All right. We need to go on a break right about now. When we return from that break, Damla Lonifade will be reacting to some of the things that he has heard. And of course, we will be talking about the Women's African Cup of Nations. And hopefully, our colleague Cecilia Morigwe will be joining us to do just that. Let's go on that break. We'll return for more on Sports Tonight.